Okay. So, welcome to another interview. Actually, we did an interview yesterday with Frank and Chris for you guys watching to just find out a little bit about what they have found out in their research that has been helping with their MS, and Chris as a carer, Frank as a sufferer, and myself as a sufferer with primary progressive. Everyone else seems to be relapsing, remitting, and hopefully that's really useful for you. And I thought today would be really useful to get Chris's mother-in-law. So Sarah is Chris's wife, who is presently in isolation, and her mum has come out as well. And I thought it'd be interesting because I know back at home on some of the forums there have been some mothers who have been slightly worried about this whole procedure. People seem to be worried about coming to Russia, about what it entails, and as a parent you naturally worry. So I thought I'd let Marilyn, or she's a Kiwi really, but she lives in New Zealand, so she's not really Marilyn. She's a Kiwi. She lives in Australia now. She's not really a Marilyn. She's a Mazza or a Maz. So I'll let Maz introduce herself, and we can take it from there.
Hi everyone. I'm Marilyn. As John said, Mazza in Australia. I just want to let all your parents know out there, especially us mums, you know, even dads, that this treatment is just amazing. I was really frightened when I first came over, not only because of the treatment for my daughter Sarah, but for coming to Russia and not knowing what it was like over here, and I was really scared. But to put your minds at rest, it's lovely. It's a lovely country. Been to lots of places where they make you feel so welcome, and the restaurants and the markets and everything. Yeah, it's been great on that side.
So can you just let us know maybe a little bit about the history of the diagnosis of Sarah, your daughter, and how that first affected you, and what your thoughts were, what your deep, dark thoughts about her MS diagnosis?
Sarah was diagnosed last August.
Yeah, coming up to 2 years, I think.
Yeah. When she was first diagnosed, she could have pushed me over, you know, knocked me over with a feather. I was there with the initial diagnosis at the doctor's, and firstly I needed to console my daughter and then try and process it myself. And it wasn't really until, say a year ago, that I started realising, yes, this is for real. I mean, it was surreal at first, and then I just wanted to support Sarah in every decision she made as to her treatment.
So what were her main symptoms that affected you, or that you could see visibly that made you worry?
Well, she used to sit there and go like this to her head, and she'd tell us that her head was foggy, and
that hitting would make it better?
Yeah, it made it feel better, tapping her head, because she has got 40 lesions in her brain. Well, they're probably gone now.
Yeah.
Because she's had the treatment. And she'd say to her mum, "My legs are going numb," and I said, "Well, you really need to get to the doctor." She put it off for a long time, didn't she?
A little while, yeah.
And I was really scared when Chris had to actually move her legs for her. And I did not think MS. I was thinking a stroke.
Because you're a nurse.
Yeah, I'm a nurse, and I didn't even look at MS. I was just thinking stroke. And I said to you, "You really need to go to the doctor, or even the hospital now, because your legs are numb and you're feeling it right now." So we took her to the hospital, and that's when things started happening.
So then, when you eventually got the diagnosis, how did you feel about MS? What did you know about MS? What were your initial thoughts, and where did you think about going from there?
Well, being a nurse, initially I felt, oh my goodness, my daughter's going to end up in a wheelchair. and she's going to lose a bit of her speech and things like that, because I have nursed MS patients, and you know, a lot of them end up in a bed or a nursing home, and having to be lifted out of bed with lifting machines and everything like that. So I was really scared.
So that kind of vision of those people that you'd experienced before made you properly scared of the future of your daughter's health.
Yeah.
So then, what were you told by the professionals were the options open for her?
Steroid treatment mainly. First it was
Yeah, the methylprednisolone.
yeah, and then the treacle.
And then Tysabree.
Tysabree.
Initially, they recommended 3 drugs. I can't remember exactly which ones they were now, but there was Tysabree and a couple of others. The reason why we chose Tysabree was at the time we were looking to have kids, and they recommended that Tysabree was the safest option for that, and also the most effective out of the other drugs. Even though she was JCV positive, which
What does that mean, JCV?
So JCV positive is, I think it's John Cunningham virus.
Yeah.
Which I think 50 or 60% of the population, or even more these days, who knows, actually has the virus in their system dormant. And then Tysabree can actually activate that. So in the first year of Tysabree, it's really, really low. It's like 0.03%, I think, of a chance of making it active. Whether that's true or not, that's a whole other topic. And then after the second year, it goes up to 33.33% chance of basically having the JCV virus become active, and then that lead into PML, which PML is a brain infection, basically, to keep it simple.
So basically, Tysabree, which is one of the prominent drugs for MS, has a high percentage chance of having a side effect of leading to a brain disease, which can ultimately kill you.
Yeah.
So none of the drugs that are provided, and none of these disease-modifying drug treatments are, risk-free. Just as HSCT is not risk-free, everything has its risks, and it's about balancing these risks.
Yeah, the benefit and risk ratio.
It's cost-benefit analysis, both in sort of physical costs of if you're going to do it privately, how much are you paying, against doing it on a national health service or insurance, and then what are the actual risk factors of doing each of these drugs. So then, how did you first hear about HSCT, Matt?
Through Chris. He did a lot of research, got online and just researched everything, and he mentioned it to us, and Sarah sort of took a while to make her decision. Like, she went through a couple of relapses, a few visits to hospital, and meltdowns and stuff, and that was it. She decided. So I went along with her to a few of her appointments because I wanted to know more about this HSCT, and there was a haematologist she went to in Australia who's all for it, and he put my mind at ease and said, look, it's just like walking in the park. The treatment is just, it's okay, Mum, she's going to be all right, because they do the treatment for leukemia in Australia, and he said it's just really easy, and she's going to be all right.
So what were your actual worries then? For him to put your mind at rest, right? For your mind not to be at rest, what were you worried about, and where did you get those worries from?
Mainly, would it work? Because of the way MS is treated in Australia. I've been a nurse for 30 odd years, so a little bit set in my ways.
Mm-hmm.
And then the more Chris and the haematologist informed to be about HSCT, it helped.
So were you worried about just the success rate rather than the side effects that HSCT might have?
Yeah, it's well, I was scared because there was chemo treatment involved, and I've also nursed people with chemo treatment, and the side effects of chemo,
Because there is a chance, obviously, that by getting chemo, we can develop cancers ourselves as patients. So that is one of the major side effects from HSCT.
So that sort of made me sceptical too. I thought, oh, shivers. And then I heard the word neutropenic, and I thought, I panicked because I know what neutropenic means, you know. And
so let's explain neutropenic for those who might not know.
Neutropenic is when your white cells go right down to zero and you've got no defence mechanism at all, which scared me.
So that's the whole nature of HSCT, is when you get the chemotherapy to kill off your immune system, then obviously your neutropenic cells are at their lowest, you know, they will ever be, and we have no immune system, and that is obviously very risky, and they can control that risk in here well enough, but it's when we go out into the outside world and get on that aeroplane and get back into our houses, how can we mitigate those risks?
Well, Sarah will be getting on the plane with a mask. When she leaves the isolation, her neutrophils will come back up, because the haematologist said it's about 4 to 5 days and it starts to climb back up. So she won't be going home until at a good level for her to travel. But
it's not like they throw you out the door after a certain amount of days to say, right, your day's right, you're going. It's like, are your levels good enough for us to safely allow you to leave?
Which they do bloods every day to see what these levels are. So it's monitored very closely, and nothing's missed. And when you go through the treatment, they alleviate any sort of pain that you may get. If you feel nauseous and everything, you don't have to suffer. They're on it straight away.
So what sort of pushback have you heard from maybe other people in the public when you've talked to people about, yeah, my daughter's going to go to Russia to get HSCT? What has been the reaction that you've generally met to that?
Just mainly, oh, that's interesting, we've never heard of it. A lot of my colleagues want to know more, and they said, why don't they do it in Australia? And you know,
because I get a sense that because the main places are Russia and Mexico, when you come from these sort of westernized countries like the UK and Australia and these European countries like Norway, when you talk about Russia and Mexico, people are like, oh, why would you want to go there to get that treatment? Why don't you do it in the UK, or why can't you get it here and there? And there's a slight bias against Russia and Mexico, and a skepticism that they can actually provide really decent treatment. But when you look around the clinic here, the clinic is fantastic. It's superbly clean. The machines are top notch. The staff work really hard. Everything appears to be running like clockwork. And I would more happily receive my treatment here than back at home, easily.
I totally agree with you there. I've noticed the cleanliness, not that our hospitals aren't clean, but I think they're extra thorough over here. They definitely know what they're doing. I sort of thought, oh, go to a foreign country, is their standard as good as ours? But I've found it's I shouldn't say it, but a lot better than Australia.
And I think that's the sort of thing that will really put people's minds at ease, because it's easy enough to go on these forums and Facebook forums and on the internet to find out about Russia, but until you hear from people who are like, I'm a nurse, I work back in Australia where we have good hospitals, and I'm telling you this is good provision. And I think that's worth its weight in gold, really.
Definitely, yeah. Sarah had a little bit of a scare when she was in, was it when she was in isolation?
Yeah. No. I can't remember now.
Her CV line got a leak or something?
Apparently they reckon that one of the stitch came slightly out or dislodged, which then caused air to get down into her heart. And that was really the only side effect or issue that she's had with the treatment in general. But literally they were on it straight away. and then literally rectified the situation, and then took obviously the line out, put her on oxygen, gave her a heart monitor, and then put the line into her arm, and that was really the only issue, which it's happened very minimally here, which obviously it's a plastic device that's inserted, which obviously can malfunction, which is what Dr. Fedorenko explained.
Yeah, but they're very prepared for that sort of thing. I was just over the moon how they, how the team worked to rectify the problem. Is done and dusted in a couple of minutes, wasn't it? Yeah.
So ostensibly, the story to tell here is that your daughter was diagnosed with MS. You went through the emotional roller coaster ride that all parents do. What do? You need to first find out about MS and do your research. And in your case, you're very lucky to have Chris, who was researching for you, I suppose, to a large degree.
For everybody, really.
And then coming to an agreement amongst your family that HSCT is an option, but I suppose leaving that to Sarah to ultimately decide.
Yes.
With a bit of pushing.
Well, as far as I was concerned, yes.
Yeah. I basically pitched it. The easiest way to explain, do you want to get HSCT? You go, well, what is the best choice we have at curing the disease? Do disease-modifying drugs cure the disease? Pretty simple. They don't. They either slow progression or you get worse, which realistically you end up getting worse. Does HSCT cure and put people into remission? With all the studies, it's shown to be effective at putting people into remission. So you go, well, do I want to get better or do I want to eventually get worse? And then if you then weigh up the risk versus benefit for those two, it's clearly going to put HSCT in favour, as all the statistics that are put into the media, which the dangers are actually very, very low statistics, and a lot lower than what a lot of people realise, as all the clinical data for HSCT is not updated online as frequently as it should be, and they're running off old data to make it seem it's a lot more scarier than what the actual treatment is.
Yeah, like seeing all the research Chris has done, and he's dug deep into the research.
Everything.
It's just made things so much clearer, and how MS is treated in Australia, America, everywhere. It's just not the right way, and it makes me sad because I have a few friends with MS, and I really want to see them free of it. And coming here has given me an experience to be able to tell them back home, hey, all around the world, recommend it. And we chose Russia because they've got the highest percentage.
Yeah, from what we've read, yeah. And realistically, with Russia as well, we found in Australia that there was a lot more evidence from either patients, from Dr. Fedorenko himself, with seminars and webinars, and a lot more accessible information that we found when we decided to go with Russia compared to other facilities that were offering HSCT at the time.
Yeah, the success rates seem to be good. The infection rates are lower. I know compared to the UK, it's favourable. All those things sort of come together to lead you to a pretty sound conclusion. I think that Russia's a pretty good option, or not a pretty good option, the best option, and really almost the only option. Is there anything else you wanted to say, Marilyn, at all to sum up?
Look, I can't say that it's still it's still an emotional roller coaster for me as being her mum, because I've watched her, in her down times, and it pulls at your mum's string, and but it is.
And it's not over yet as well.
That's right, but. Because my daughter's been so brave and so positive about everything, and the treatment hasn't been all that bad, I honestly recommend it. I really do, sincerely.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for your time and and for being so honest and candid here, and for Chris again for his useful inputs. Hopefully this will be useful for people watching, for parents to watch. Spread this around, ask any questions, and if you have any requests for different types of videos that may have an angle that would be useful for you, do let us know. As ever, take care, and hopefully you start the journey. Cheers.